Well, for Locked On Wizards podcast, is your host, the real Ed Oliver. Just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. And for part two, again, I have special guest Brendan from Wizards of Gallery Place. Today, we're going to answer a mailbag question, and if we can get to some over-unders for the season, we'll get to that, some bet props. We're going to start off with this question from Corey Sims on Twitter. His Twitter handle is ChinchillaDK. It's ChinchillaADK. He says, what does year two look like for Wes Unseld Jr. at coach? What are three areas of improvement? What are three continuing strengths that this team displays from Wes coaching? And Brendan, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so I don't know if I have like three. I think my one would be just just evaluate rotations better during a game. Like if a guy's hot, leave him in. If a guy clearly just gets, like if Deni gets to the game, misses two blown layups, airballs a three, puts his head down. Okay, why are you keeping him in the game? Like, please take him out and put someone who's going to do something useful in. So just things like that. Just have a better feel for the game. Don't stick to the note cards. I know that's a popular thing with him right now. Just have a feel for the game and execute it and make it look good. Other than that, I mean, it's really hard to say. Like, he could be better offensively, but we don't know what the offense is going to look like now with KP, Beal. Like, we have no idea how any of this stuff is going to look. Obviously, I think we all want to see continued improvement on the defensive end of the floor. So other than that, I really don't have much at this point, I guess. I mean, my main thing, again, is just, have a backbone. Make your decisions. I want to be able to look at wins in February, January, and say, Wes Unseld Jr. won us those games. So I just make decisions,
Yeah, the backbone thing definitely hit a nerve there for sure, because it's concerning. The whole things that happened on the locker room. I'm not going to blame everything on him, like Montrezl Harrell fighting KCP and Deni and Davies Bertans arguing, and the whole Dinwiddie thing. When he left, he had a lot of things to say. But at the same time, you do have to have a voice over the locker room. You do have to be able to police a locker room. Some of that stuff was on him. The Clippers collapse, them being up by 35 points, and him not making adjustments, as you said, not taking Dinwiddie out of the game, keeping Gafford out of the game in the second half. He didn't make any adjustments at all. He did need to bench some of the starters there, because you look at what Tyronn Lue did in that game. He benched the starters, and you had guys like Luke Kennard starts sometimes, but I mean, he looked like a freaking all-star in that game. Same thing with some other guys, like Jay Scrubb and Amir Coffey were hitting big time shots for the Clippers against, our starters, some of our big paid guys. And, West got out coached. Those are one of the games that you could really pinpoint there. The chemistry was a mess for sure. There was reports about prisoners running the asylum. So he definitely has to get a voice there. When you do listen to him talk, he's a calm, cool, and collected guy. He's not like a rah-rah guy like a Tom Thibodeau or anything like that. But you kind of look at guys like Eric Spoelstra, when they're yelling at Jimmy Butler, or that spat that they go back and forth with. I'm not saying that West needs to, go out there and go on a spat like that with another player, but sometimes you have to put your foot down and, just have more of a stronger voice, being like a leader of men establishing roles. And I just don't think we got many roles established. We had a lot of guys, complaining about minutes, fighting for minutes in the last year of their contracts. Montrez, he had that MVP run in the first 13 games. We were 10-3, and then, things fell apart. The defense was disappointing too. So one thing, because Chinchilla DK said three things. One thing I would say, to piggyback off like what you said, kind of the backbone thing, having a voice over the locker room. The defense needs to improve. He was a defensive-minded head coach coming from the Nuggets, and we finished 25th in defensive efficiency. And the defense didn't look much better than Scott Brooks. Unfortunately, it really didn't. Josh Hart had 44 points one game. Christian Wood hit 10 threes or 9 threes in one game. So that's two of the three things. Is there any other things that you thought of as well?
Not really, man. I just hope that they get off to a better start offensively, because at the beginning of the season, it was really rocky. And then in December, when they decided they wanted to change their pace, and play faster, which was a good thing, but then their defense tailed off. So we had the elite defense at the beginning of the season and no offense. And then it kind of switched to where, okay, we'll give you a little bit more offense, but now we're not playing any defense. And that's how you get to 30-something wins every time. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think another thing was inbounds plays. That was pretty frustrating. They struggled. They got a couple 5-second violations. KCP was one of the worst inbounders. The Clippers game too. They had a 5-second violation in that game. And like you said, the showcasing guys. I think that was something that might have been out of his control. But at the same time, if that's the rotation you want, different guys than what Tommy Shepard or whoever the owner's telling you that, hey, we got to showcase Trez, we got to showcase Thomas Bryant or showcase Bertans because we want to trade these guys to get their value up instead of prioritizing winning games. That's something on Wes as well. Not playing Gafford. Gafford was getting a couple DNPs there, and then your guy Sato. It took them a long time to start him at point guard towards the end of the year, and then you saw how much better the offense looked when they were starting Halo Neto at point guard, who's an undersized guy that, is somewhat of a turnstile on defense. So I just thought there was definitely some times where he just took a little too long to take guys out, or when guys were hot, he would take them out. Or as you said with Deni, we'll see how the development goes with Deni this season. But that was some things too. And the slow methodical offense is something that I wrote down too. Try to switch up the pace. But after that, the defense tailed off too. So it's in what are three. So also Chinchilla says, what are three continuing strengths that this team displays from Wes Unseld Jr.? So before we do get to that, this episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. They changed their name from Truebill to Rocket Money. So why did Truebill change its name to Rocket Money? We'll tell you what we heard. Truebill, now backed by Rocket Companies, has grown from a bill management app into a full-on personal finance empowerment tool that helps over 3.4 million people with budgeting, lowering bills, canceling subscriptions, and more, saving each of their members on average $700 a year. And with all that growth comes the next evolution in Truebill's story, a new name. Bottom line, Rocket Money is everything I've loved about Truebill, but with a fresh look and feel. Start canceling your unused subscriptions and save money at rocketmoney.com/lockedonnba. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedonnba, or download the app from the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. So, all right. So we're going to do some over-unders here. I didn't get these from Bet Online. I did last year, but we're going to start with some over-unders here just for the season. Some prop bets. Would definitely revisit these when the season goes along. So the first one I have is Bradley Beal, 28 points a game. Last year, he averaged about 23, which is pretty underwhelming for Bradley Beal. Definitely a low since 2017. Then he had the back-to-back years averaging 30. So what do you have for that?
This is a good over-under mark for him, by the way, because this is honestly a tough one to answer. I am going to say under, but it's not because I don't think that he can give you 30 every night, but I think when you have Kuzma and Porzingis now factor in, and these are two of the more talented players that he's been paired with in recent memory. So kind of what we were hoping with Dinwiddie, that Dinwiddie would take some of the load off Brad and Brad wouldn't have to do as much. That's kind of the same thing I'm going with here. So I'm going to say under, but it's not because I think Brad's going to have a bad year. I just think we have more guys that can do stuff with the basketball now.
Right. Yeah. I said the same thing last year. It's better for him to be under 30 points. Some of those there was a stat where every time he scores 40, we usually lose. We're like 1-12 or something like that when he scores over 40. I don't see him getting 30 just because, like you said, Porzingis is going to get his shots up and his points. Because you have more guys to spread the ball around where, when he was scoring 30, the starting five was like Isaiah Thomas, Troy Brown Jr., and he had other guys like, what was his name? Jerome Robinson was starting at some points and some other guys that, might not be in the league much longer. So you had Halo Neto starting out like the 4, Ish Smith. It was the 3-guard lineup and whatnot. So that's a part of the reason why too. I do think he's going to shoot better though, but I would have him around 26, 27. I think it's better for him to, be around that range rather than him putting up 30 points a night, putting up 60 points and us losing. So next one is 4 assists a game. He averaged 6 assists this past season, which was a career high for him. He averaged 3 turnovers, though, and there was the times where he was playing point guard, literally playing point guard for the Washington Wizards last year. So what do you have on that one?
I am going to go over 4 assists. I think that we have more talent, which naturally I think is going to open up things for other guys. Hopefully the offense is more free-flowing. I think that 4 assists is very easy for Brad to get this year.
I think so, too. Yeah, you look at the pick and roll with Kristaps Porzingis pick and pop. Kyle Kuzma is a knockdown shooter. Monte Morris is a better three-point shooter than a lot of the guys we had last year. Same thing with Will Barton. And you got Corey Kispert. He should be making a leap this upcoming season, too. So I think I would take the over to maybe like 4.5, something like that. So next one is Kristaps Porzingis, 24 points per game.
I'm going to go under.
Okay.
Just if we were going based off per 36 numbers, I mean, he'd probably clear that, but I don't know what they're going to try and keep his minutes at. I know that for the Wizards, he only played about 28 minutes a game. I do know that they were trying to manage him carefully coming off that injury, but I still think they should try and keep him maybe around 30 minutes or so, at least to start the season. So I am going to go under, but again, it's not because I don't think he can do it under normal circumstances. But again, with more people having the ball, we're still going to have Kuzma, other guys that can shoot, score a little bit. So I'm going to go under, but I still think KP will be the most efficient scorer on the team this year.
Definitely. Yeah. So this past year, he averaged 22 points a game, 1.5 blocks. Like you said, about 28 minutes per game in 17 games. He did have a couple 30-point games. The one against the Pistons, he put up 30. I'm going to go under slightly. The only time in his career, I'm looking at the numbers, he's never actually averaged 24 points a game. The All-Star year that he had with the Knicks, he averaged 22.7 points a game. So I'm with you on the under there. He would still be really effective. Even if he puts up 23 points a game, we know he's going to have some games where he's going to go crazy for like 30 or possibly a 40-point game or something like that. So this one, I'm going to knock on wood about this one. This one upcoming over under 60 games played for Kristaps Porzingis.
I'm going to go under just because Wizards and just kind of his history in general. And I love the guy. He seems like a wonderful personality. He's a great basketball player. I mean, he's literally – and I don't know why he doesn't get more attention. I guess because he's injured all the time. But he's really one of the most skilled fives in the game. Like raw talent, he's up there, you know. But I am going to go under for this. And again, it's not because I dislike him or anything like that, but just you factor in everything and Wizards, which is a big thing with us. So I'll go under. Right,
yeah. It's unfortunate. That's why I knock on wood, because it's like you hope. And this is the big reason why, you know, the media or the national consensus is not high on the Wizards, because you just can't really bank on Porzingis to play over 60 games when you really need him. He's been on the sideline in a suit looking pretty good over the past couple of years. So, I mean, you look at 2022, this past season, he played 51 games. 2021, he played 43. 2020, he played 57. 2019, he didn't play at all. And then 2018, he played in his all-star season, he played 48 games. So well under 60 games, 12 games under 60. So for the most part, he's averaged around 40 to 50 games a year. So it's hard to say, it's being very optimistic to say over 60. You know what? I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to speak this into existence. I'm going to say he plays. I'm going to say he plays 65 games. I'm going to say 65 games. So this is my first over. Everything's been under so far, but I'm going to go over. So Johnny Davis. Let's transition to Johnny Davis. Okay. He had an interesting summer league for the Washington Wizards, but the over under for him, for me, is I'm gonna say 60 games played. What are your thoughts on that? There could be DNPs involved, and there could be G League games involved. So what's your over under on Johnny Davis 60 games played this year?
So the 60 you're including with G League?
With the Washington Wizards, the regular Washington Wizards, not the go-go.
Okay, then I'm going to say under, just because quite frankly, I just don't see where he gets any minutes.
Okay.
The backups are going to be Wright, Kispert, Deni, Rui, and Gafford. I mean, are you taking any of those guys out of the rotation? And even if you do, well, then you have Taj Gibson and Anthony Gill. So Johnny Davis still isn't even in order to play on the depth chart, at least for me. So I'm going to go under pretty easily.
Under, okay. You know what? I'm going to go over again. I do think I understand what you're saying, of course, because right now he's really the third shooting guard on the depth chart. If you want to say he's a shooting, I know Tommy said he could play point guard, but I just did not see that in the summer league at all. I did see some playmaking ability here and there, but I do think I think there might be a stint in the G League. I know a lot of people give me some pushback when I say that, but I think there may be a stint in the G League. I think that would kind of take away from the 60 games played, or really just the 82. But I do think he's going to get on the floor for 60 games in a Washington Wizard uniform. I'm going to take the over on that. So okay. G League games, over under 10 games in the G League.
My first over. I think he should spend a lot of time in the G League. And it's not that I don't think he can do things that can help the Wizards contribute, because I do think there are things that he does bring to the table that some of our other guards may not have. But for now, just with the rotation being so tight, not really being a whole lot of room for him to play, I'd rather have him in the G League than just sitting on the bench doing nothing. So I kind of hope that that's the Wizards' mindset with that as well. So I'm going to go over for sure.
Okay. Yeah, Corey Kispert, they said that they were sizing him. Last year, Tommy Shepard was saying they were sizing him up for a G League for the Capital City Go-Go. So if they were doing that for Corey Kispert, then I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing the same thing for Johnny Davis. And honestly, Corey Kispert's summer league wasn't great either. But honestly, he put up, I would say, better numbers, and it was overall better than Johnny Davis. And I'm not just gonna overreact from summer league. I get it. Kind of like the NFL preseason, where it's like everybody's like, oh, it's just the preseason. Some people are saying, oh, it's just the summer league. He'll be better around better players like Bradley Beal and Monte Morris, Will Barton, Porzingis, etc. But I do think, like you said, there's some things where you're looking at, there's some glaring improvement areas. I'm not going to say weaknesses, but I'm going to say improvement areas where he struggled, where it looked hard. It looked difficult for him to get a shot off. And I think he can really work on that with the Go-Go, where in the Go-Go, he'll probably put up 20 points a game and look confident. Same thing with Troy Brown Jr. Troy Brown Jr. was putting up big numbers in the Go-Go with the Go-Go. We've had a couple rookies go to the Go-Go. I know it could be somewhat of a pride thing where you don't want your top 10 pick to play in the G League, but I don't look at it that way. There's some really good players that have played in the G League, so I wouldn't look at Jonathan Kuminga for the Warriors was playing for the Santa Cruz Warriors. Same thing with Moses Moody. So it's a new day and age. It's not the worst thing in the world to play in the G League. It's not like Anthony Bennett playing in the G League or Hashim to beat guys like that. So I do think I'm gonna say under, but I would say 9. I'm very close.
Okay.
I'm very close to that. And we both could be wrong. And, they just have, Johnny Davis play just because, they want to be correct about the pick. Not saying that they're wrong about it, because I'm very happy I was excited when they drafted Johnny Davis. I like the idea of him. I love the defensive intensity. I love the scoring. The mid-range game, a lot of people don't like that in the NBA. He's a tough shot maker. And right now, those shots, that are tough to make, he's not going to get all those shots. Bradley Beal is going to be shooting the majority of the shots, and the playing time is going to be hard for him to get. I think he's really third behind Corey Kispert at the shooting guard position. Whether Will Barton starts or not, I have him third on the depth chart at the shooting guard position right now. All right, so last one here that we'll go to is who plays more minutes this season, Rui Hachimura or Deni Avdija?
I'm going to go with Deni. And for the record, I think that Rui's a better basketball player. But I think when you factor in Rui's going to be on an expiring contract, they're going to, I think, try and lean more. We know Wes likes to play guys who want to play defense. So I think that naturally means he's going to lean towards Deni. And Deni was also, if you want to go based off the bench guys, led bench guys in minutes this past year. I think he was at 23 minutes or so last season. So I'm going to go with Deni I don't want to say pretty easily clearing Rui, but it should be by like 3 or 4 minutes, I would say on average. Deni should beat him by.
Okay. Yeah, and you kind of got to see that towards the end of the year where they were both in the same minute realm, but I know they sat Kyle Kuzma. They just let all the young guys play like the last 5 or 6, 7 games of the year. I would lean towards you with Deni just because of the defense, and Wes is looking for defensive-minded guys. Unless Rui can really lock in defensively, like he was better in the 2021 season. After this year, where he came back, he missed 40 games, so he wasn't in the best shape. I'm not going to make any excuses for Rui at all, but I just think it's going to come down to the defensive end of of the court or the ball. I do agree with you. I think Rui's the more polished. I think he's further along than Deni, for sure, offensively, and then Deni has Rui beat defensively. But yeah, to answer the question, yeah, I'm gonna go with Deni right now, especially for those close situations. I think they really do use him as a defensive stopper, so they're gonna need him in those big time moments. So, and there will be games where they're gonna need Rui's offense for sure down the stretch too. So, but next episode we're gonna talk about part 2 of some more over unders, and then we're gonna talk about the young core. So I just want to thank you guys for listening and making Locked On NBA or Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA. Make sure you guys subscribe to Locked On Wizards on YouTube and hit the notification bell.